Florida getting ready for days and days upon days of rain. Really, the Atlantic side, actually.
And we've had a taste of that.
They're like, wait,
a lot
what
of
else?
that. I know. Florida's like, so
nuts.
what's different here?
Right.
You have had a couple breaks in between, and that will continue. So you'll have moments where you're not drenched in rain, but unfortunately the rain action, that is going to be an issue, especially as Craig said, for folks that live on the east coast of Florida. The Gulf side could use some rain.
Yeah, really.
You'll see a little bit, but definitely some higher totals for the 95 corridor. So let's start with the Atlantic basin, because this is being tagged by the National Hurricane Center as an area to watch. You'll notice that there's also another area that's coming off the coast of Africa. We'll get to the main development zone in just a moment, but this is pretty close to home. Still low potential. So yesterday in comparison to today, no real big change in the outlook. 10% shot.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, when it's this close to home, you're like, all right, I got to keep my eyes on it regardless. Sometimes we get fixed on the name, and as we have learned time and time again, year upon year, even this season, it doesn't matter. It's about what's happening, and that is a lot in the way of rain. Britta, you talked about the Atlantic side of the coast. Even portions of the Bahamas will be dealing with some of the rain, and we look at the tropical threat there. It's gone up a little bit near the Bahamas, down a little bit along the east coast of Florida, but it's still there. You can't turn your back on this.
Interesting, because this is the burst zone of Imelda.
I was just going to think about that. And how slow did Imelda move through here?
Little eerie.
Yeah.
Again, still staying with that 10% shot, but we have seen that trend on the models increase just a touch. So as we take a look at the available moisture, this ridge of high pressure is acting kind of like a conveyor belt. It's actually producing extremely dry conditions across the Northeast. I mean, it feels so crisp and dry and cool. And that ridge of high pressure is funneling in what moisture is off the east coast of Florida onto the peninsula itself. And so we have this slug of moisture that kind of streams along the stationary front and then gets into the peninsula. Now, an area of low pressure along that boundary can spin some tropical trouble. This is really warm water. That's really the only thing working in this scenario, because we have a lot of buffers.
A lot of land, a lot.
Exactly. Wind shear is plentiful. We're actually struggling with moisture. I know that we're talking about the potential for heavy rain, which is certainly there, but in comparison to the amount of moisture that you need for a budding tropical system, we're kind of below that benchmark. So the water temperatures, that's the concern here, so we'll continue to watch it.
Meantime, that is plenty of moisture going to get squeezed out here. The Sunshine State already seeing daily rounds of rain, tropical moisture. And, you know, we had that front extend all the way from what was Imelda, extend all the way across portions of the Atlantic. Now, for Jacksonville, we do have coastal flood warnings and advisories that are in effect till 5 p.m. today. High surf advisories. That's going to take us through not only today, but through the 6th. In fact, lots of areas along the coast. Yeah. And we've got a lot to break down today. So we're talking about Florida and the East Coast. And when we talk about this, Britta, we're also talking about, we're going to get to this later, but king tides are coming in for places like North Carolina. So let's talk about Daytona Beach. You can see the ground truth here. Look at those clouds there, a couple of breaks in the clouds, even though it's dark out there. Here's the radar where you can see a little bit of light rain. So I love that imagery because you can see what's actually going on, see what it looks like on the radar. Here's a look at the flood watch in place through Sunday, Britta. Sunday, and again, the Atlantic side.
This is a long duration event, guys. So this is directly tied to what we just talked about. Hurricane Center is looking out for the potential for tropical development, but this is just a long transport of moisture.
Look at that.
Some of which, I don't know, can you throw out the term atmospheric river? That's going to be a topic that you dive into later today. But the origins of this moisture along this stalled front actually go all the way up into the northern Atlantic. So kind of cool when you back out and notice that everything on the globe is connected, folks. We do have a level 2 posted around Fort Pierce. So that's going to be a highlighted area where you could run into a higher occurrence of flooding, and the most likely scenario is street flooding, especially in these urban areas where all of a sudden you got a foot of water, you know, surrounding the streets and you can't drive through it. We'll keep the level 2 in place for Saturday, 2 days back to back.
And look at this.
Would not be shocked if Sunday and Monday you got something added. But there's a shift, though.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't be shocked. And then that shift to the north, which we missed out on the last rounds of rain, which really helped us out across the southeastern corner of the state. Well, now you get it to Jacksonville, places like Savannah, all the way up into even southern portions of South Carolina along the coast. So low country will get some of this as well. But look at this end into the afternoon. You get the daytime heating. Notice how it doesn't move very much. That stall front squeezes out all of that moisture. The Gulf side, meantime, saying, hey, what about me? We're falling behind here. In fact, Tampa, Tampa didn't even have an inch of rain last month. It's been their driest on record.
You know, a lot of moisture in the last several years that we've picked up in rainy season for the Gulf side has been due to tropical systems. We haven't had anything in the Gulf, and so we continue to be on the dry side for the Gulf side of Florida. A little breezy from time to time. Again, isolated wind gusts will be possible, and then the breakers will be huge. We do have a high surf advisory in effect, high risk for rip currents. Please be safe out there. Now let's take you a little bit farther away from home to the coast of Africa, folks. Yeah, the MDR. What a beautiful look at Morocco. Now, we still have tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa, and the National Hurricane Center has tagged an area to watch in the MDR for the potential for tropical development. And although in October we start to kind of push our focus away from this zone, the beginning of October can still very much produce a main development region hurricane. 30% chances over the next 7 days. So the trend is against us. It is going up this morning. Yesterday we were at 20, now we're at 30. And then looking at our tropical threat graphic, which by the way is exclusive to Fox Weather. You only see this graphic here. So congratulations to you for being a Fox Weather family member. But it's great because it gives you a visual of the direction we're going.
Yeah.
We're still in a low potential for development.
And the trend also takes it in that same general direction, out closer to the Lesser Antilles. Here's a look at the atmospheric moisture it'll have to work with. Remember, this entire time this season, we've been talking about so much in the way of dust. This one's got a little more moisture in the way of it. Steering mechanisms, high pressure to the north, and even an area of low pressure above that will help to redirect this to the north and northwest. And that would mean there's an area of low pressure, would mean more in the way of rain for the portion of the Caribbean, the Lesser Antilles.
Yeah, because even if you don't get a tropical system to get its act together, this moisture that will be streaming in will produce unsettled weather that will go right over the Lesser Antilles.
Yeah.
Timing for that is the end of next week. It's a week from now.
Yeah, it's that ways out. And here's a look at all of the models when you look at it. And in the beginning, they're all saying, yeah, we got something looks like it looks pretty good, especially just to the east of the Lesser Antilles. We go into Friday the 10th and notice they're still kind of in that bullseye, but they'll start to spread out a little bit more. It's still quite a ways. We still don't have anything for them.
Marissa Torres called this the Skittle map.
Oh, the Skittle maps.
So it does look like you just threw a bunch of Skittles on there. Each one of those Skittles, so to speak, is a position of where a potential storm could be. So, you know, to your point, Craig, this is a huge spread once we get to Monday the 13th, which is more than a week from now. You're talking about, you know, over 800-900 miles of options there. Here's early October tropical origin locations. These are actual spots where we have seen storms form. So again, just reiterating that everything's open for business. The next name on the list is Jerry. I like Skittles better than M&Ms.
I'm a chocolate
so I think it's
guy.
kind of like your personal take on it.
How about Jerry and Karen? Man, the Karen. Will we get there? Jerry, will we get there? I don't know. Stay with us. We'll keep you updated. It's been a little quiet at times, but we're starting to pick up here.